All right, we are streaming live on Facebook for anyone watching. Thanks for joining us. It's Tim Watson here with Meet the Masters. I'm joined by Master Lappin this morning. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining. How's it going down in Florida?
It's actually going really well. We're lucky. We're one of the few states that's our governor is pretty liberal, and we've been allowed to pretty much do what we think is right. And of course, we're being very, very careful. But it's allowed the business to continue to thrive. Thank goodness.
Awesome. Yeah, we were talking about this before we came on, where you just talked to us about your protocols and some of the creative things you've been doing to keep students engaged.
Mm-hmm. So you want to hear about some of them?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to.
So what we do is when they first walk in the door, we ask the questions. Then I think everyone is asking the same questions probably, but we ask those questions before they even walk in the door. If those are all no, then they come in. The first thing, we have one of those temperature things on the wall. We take the temperature. We have them immediately go wash their hands. And of course, they're wearing masks the whole time. So that's kind of what we do. We've also left more space between classes so we don't have the overlap. We don't have people all over the place milling. And even if they are waiting, we usually only let them in 5 minutes before class. And so if there is any wait time at all, they're like 10 feet apart waiting in the hallway. So it's working out really well. We've been very fortunate. And of course, all of our classes are we call it simulcast. So every class that we offer is Zoom and in person. So it's kept the amount of people down, because we have quite a few people. We have about 300 students. Oh, wow. We are down a little bit though, because we were up to like 340. So, we are down with the COVID. We have lost some people. Some people have lost jobs. We've had to work with a lot of people and do what was right. But overall, we've been very fortunate, knock on wood, because I've heard some stories not so good. Some places people can't even be open. So it's been tough. It's been tough for a lot of people. So I'm just grateful that, we're in Florida, we're where we are, and people are pretty safe. Again, knock on wood, praise the Lord. We've been good.
That's what I always say to people. It's like, we've been reopened since June 1st and we've had no issues, and we want to keep it that way. And I'm happy to hear that you're in the same boat. So how many classes are you teaching a night to try to accommodate 300 people?
Well, I have two buildings.
Okay.
I own my building and I've got 10,000 square feet. So I'm really fortunate that we have a lot of space. We can divide them all over the place. So really, I'm done at 8 o'clock every night, which is very unusual to have everybody in and out. But it was designed that way. So we have, how many classes do we have a day? Maybe 7 a day. Because I will have our family class where the whole family will come in, but then all the tigers and dragons will go in the other building, and then certain ranks will go to a different building, or different area. So I've got like one big mat area, and then it's got a curtain between it, which is really 2 mat areas. And then I've got a separate, we call it the judo room because the mats are thicker. So I've got that, and then I've got a whole next door building, which is 4,000 square feet. It's not matted, but it's carpeted and it's got dots on the floor. Now, of course, we had to take our 30 dots up and put 15 dots down. So, we're doing all that, but it's working out really well. And I think it's because we're very, very fortunate to have so much space.
Yeah, I'm at Evolution Karate, and we have 2 floors, and I've never been so happy to be able to do exactly what you said, because it's super helpful to be able to have a certain amount of people and spread them out. That way you can, like you said, be done at 8 o'clock, because we're in the same boat. And I know not everyone has that luxury, but it's nice that I'm happy that we do, and great to hear that you have the same options.
You know what I would do though? Like, we have a big board breaking seminar. And so what we're doing, it's coming up this Friday. And if it gets that we have too many, it is by everyone has to sign up. But if we get too many people, we'll just take it outside. Mm-hmm. We'll take it outside, and they'll each break their own board. They'll hold their own board. So we're doing different things that, or we use the board holders and sterilize them in between each one. So we're doing like a break through your barriers, like a goal setting, renewal prep kind of, for board setting, and for board breaking. So it should be really fun. But for people that don't have a lot of room, What we did in the beginning when we were real nervous is we just kept everyone outside. We do have a big outside area, and we had them way far apart. And we had our speaker out there, and we were, you know, talking on the speaker. But that's a nice, safe way to do it too, if the weather permits.
Sure. Yeah. It's getting colder up here, up this way. So it's less and less opportunities, and it's darker earlier, but I know some people that definitely take advantage of that. I like the board breaking idea. Actually, someone asked me about that the other day, if we could do a class, and I was like, well, right now we're not doing a whole lot with holding boards for people. So I'll have to follow up with you and see how that goes, because I'm definitely interested in hearing more about that. We got a bunch of people saying hi this morning. Let's see, Matt, Tom Lyons, Rusty Camacho, Brian Ormiston, Lindsay from Great Britain saying hi, Pam Russell, Katie Nicole, got Yoshi Oda and Nikki Nagevsky. Everyone's watching this morning.
Hello, everybody. Hello. Glad you're on.
So it's funny, with people that have been in the World Tang Soo Do Association for a while that are masters, you can Google a lot of people's names and type in WTSDA, and old masters profiles pop up.
Really?
So I looked up one of your old masters profiles from probably like 2010.
Oh. I was wondering how you knew that information that you asked me. I'm like, how does he know all that?
I'm a sleuth. I just use Google. I'm a Google detective.
Well, it works.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we could talk about, like, when you first started the martial arts, what drew you to the martial arts, and how did you get your start?
Okay, well, I was probably influenced by the Karate Kid and the movies, the David Carradine Kung Fu movie when I was a kid, but I didn't really start until I was in college. I went to University of Florida, and I started in judo, and that was in the 70s. So I did judo there for a couple of years till I graduated, and then didn't do any martial arts. Taught judo for a while at like little rec centers and just a little, stuff. Didn't have my own school or anything. And then we moved to California, and my husband and kids got into Tang Soo Do with Master Dabaka, and who is still my main instructor and has been. So they started it about a year before I did. And I just really liked what they were doing, and they were all bonding and having fun. And I was like so busy working. I was always traveling and working a lot. So it was real hard to get into it, but I finally did. And for me, it was one of the best decisions I ever made. I guess I got into it mainly the stress release, just putting your mind at a different place and not worrying about work and not worrying about the kids, and just going and having some kind of me time. And I guess that's kind of the main reason I did it. And then what I ended up doing is, so I never got my black belt in judo when I was in college, but I went back after I got my master's. I don't know about you, but once I got my master's, it had been such a big goal. It had been such a big life goal that once I got it, it was like, what next? It was almost like a letdown. And that's when I decided, well, I'm going to go back and get my black belt in judo. And so I did that. I found a guy that lives near me, and he was like a 5th or 6th degree. And so I went back, and one of my other students and I went back and we trained, and I finally got my black belt in judo, like, I don't know, right after I got my master's. So it's been a while now, but it was pretty cool. So I've always liked the martial arts. I like pretty much anything, any kind of martial arts I enjoy. It's just fun.
I find that people that take Tang Soo Do and then take a break can fall back into it pretty quickly. Was judo the same way?
Yes and no. I think doing Tang Soo Do for so long and teaching rolling and falling made it easier, because judo is mostly, the first 6 months you're falling, you're rolling, you're falling, you're rolling. I'm not a spring chicken either, and I wasn't then. And so, it took me, even then, it took me a little while to get my body in shape for the judo. But for the most part, because of the coordination we learn and all that, you're in shape. It's not hard. We've been rolling and falling, so it wasn't like I was just starting. So it was a little easier, I think. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well, and I remember when I started, they were like, "How do you know how to roll and fall?" And it's like, I do the martial arts.
Yeah, it just kind of comes as part of it. Yeah.
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 So how did your family, like, you found Master Tabaka? Was that just he was in the area and they just walked in, or?
Yeah, he had a sign up, one of those sandwich signs out front, and he was in like kind of, it wasn't a real great area. He was kind of tucked back, but he had a sandwich sign out front, and my husband saw it and went in. And my husband was lifting weights with him too, but I think he did the karate first because he had like a little like a gym as well, and a kickboxing place as well. And they just got into it, just driving by. I don't know. I think him and the kids all started at the same time, but I'm not sure. It's been so long ago. But like, it was in the 80s, so it was a while.
I remember seeing Master Tabaka at Worlds, and the back of his dobok was Fitness Fanatics, and it wasn't really surprising. I mean, the guy's like has always just been like chiseled out of granite.
Yeah, he is. He is the epitome of Fitness Fanatics. And at his school, I mean, you had to be that way. You had to be in shape. He did not promote you if you were not ready. And, because of that, he actually lost a lot of students because his standards were very, very high. And in the beginning, I was very, very much like him. I still am. I think part of the reasons my students are so good is because of his discipline and commitment and standards, really high standards. I've kind of softened a little bit with, people that have disabilities or people that have issues. But he was such a wonderful mentor. I mean, I love the man. I was just out visiting him and his wife back in January. So he's still my instructor and my mentor, and always will be. And, he taught me so much.
That's awesome. I haven't had the opportunity to really, other than seeing him from afar at Worlds and Masters Clinic, and be like, oh, that's Master Tabaka. He's a seventh dan. He's been around forever. Like, it kind of has that aura that I'm sure some people would think of, like with my instructor's Master Godwin. Mm-hmm. I think of him as having that same aura as like, oh, it's Master Tabaka. He's amazing.
And I remember thinking that same way about Master Godwin the first couple times I met him, because I had heard about him and I'd heard how wonderful he did, like with his studios, as well as being a great martial artist. And he's impacted me a lot as well. Big, big impact and mentor to me, especially with the business part of it. Because I haven't worked out with him very many times, except for the few keto things I've done with him. But business-wise, I've done a lot of the, we used to do those business seminars. And so I got to spend time with him. And it was really nice. Also, when I first opened up, I reached out to him. And he was so giving and so kind and just so sharing of information that he helped me a lot. A lot of people in our association did when I first started. Thank goodness, because knock on wood, the business has done really well and it's continuing. So I try to give back as well, because if I didn't have those people helping me and guiding me, it's just so easy to fail in the business. Mm-hmm. Especially for us people that are really dedicated martial artists, and we're not necessarily business people or sales people. And a lot of times we don't get that to be successful, to really be successful and have a really thriving business, you've got to be bringing in new people all the time. And like my personality is actually pretty much, I'm more of an introvert. So the idea of sales and me was just, it was foreign, even though I had been in sales before. But when I moved to karate, I was a regional executive with MetLife for many years. Actually, when I trained with Master Tabaka, that's what I was doing. So I traveled a lot and I had a lot of responsibility, and it was sales or overseeing, branch managers that were sales reps for financial services. Mm-hmm. So I had been in sales, but when I moved to the karate part of it, I never put two and two together. I just did business the way Master Tabaka did business. If you build it, they'll come, or the way most traditional martial arts do business. You teach a good class, they'll come, and they'll refer their friends. But it was really hard for me to grow. So I had to learn more of the marketing things. And, when I did the flyers, and Master Tabaka did all that too. But he was way more traditional than I am, and maybe not as hungry. He says, I could never work as hard as you do. I could never do those things. And because I go out there and I get it. But if I hadn't learned that from certain people, then I wouldn't have affected so many people. I mean, we have changed, and you have too, I'm sure, so many lives, and we've helped so many people. But if you don't get them in the door, we can't help them.
Yeah, that's a great point. And especially right now, I think one of the things that people have trouble with is, as a martial arts instructor, you have to sell you, and you have to sell your studio and your instructors and the value and benefits that you bring to it. And sometimes that's hard for people to grasp.
Mm-hmm. Well, they feel like they're being cocky, right, or prideful, but you really have to do that. I think if you don't put your best foot forward and sell your program or show the benefits of your program and how it will change their lives or improve their lives, it's difficult for people to they don't always see the value. One of the things we do, and we've been doing it for about maybe 2 years now, is we do a little tour. When people first walk in the studio, our brand new people, for an introductory class, we do a tour of the studio. And a big part of the tour of the studio is showing the poster of all the things we teach, like leadership, integrity, teamwork, anti-bully, conflict resolution. And then we go and we show all the pictures of the black belts. So I have many, many, many pictures of black belts on my wall. And I point to them and I tell them what they're doing now. And we have such amazing, successful black belts that I can point to them. And by the time I'm done, the people are like, I think maybe sometimes they don't believe me. They don't believe that this many people got academic scholarships to colleges, and this many, like we have 2 people that were valedictorian of our local high school. We have 2 people that were got into Annapolis Naval Academy and graduated. We have people that got full rides to University of Florida. And I don't know if you know, but right now it's really difficult to get into University of Florida. It's like a 4.4 GPA and everything else. So people are impressed by that, and it is bragging. But it's not saying me. It's saying, look at what this one did, look at when this one did, look at when this one did. So it's a little easier to do that. So I encourage people to do those kinds of things, like share with them what your successful students are doing. Because really, all of our black belts are successful.
Sure.
Whatever their definition is, they are all hitting their goals and they're successful because they've learned the focus and all the stuff we teach.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just to earn the black belt and go through the process. And I mean, especially for kids and teens, you're talking 5 to 6 years. And for any kid to say, like, I spent 5 years working towards my black belt. I wrote an essay. I took that's a huge accomplishment. So like, I love that you do that. And that might be something I steal. I've always wanted to do a black belt wall, but haven't. And this might be the time to dedicate to go back and start doing some pictures. So
makes the students feel good though too.
Yeah, sure.
Put a picture on the wall. It makes them feel good.
So let's go back a little bit as far as you moved obviously from California back to Florida at some point. Did you move back knowing that you wanted to start your own studio, or what happened when you went back to Florida? Did you train somewhere else, or?
Yes, for a little while I did. So when I was in California, I had always wanted to move back to Florida because my parents were here and my family was here. So I kind of wanted to always try to get back. And with work, it was very hard to get the transfer back here. So finally I had the opportunity to move back here. And originally when I moved back, I was going to stay in my field, which was, upper management, financial services. And I was going to stay in that field. And we found a home, and it was about maybe an hour away from Jacksonville, where the main city is where I would have had to work, because we were looking for horse property. So I kind of had to be out in the country. And so I started looking at jobs, and I started thinking about it. And of course, I knew I was going to start my studio, even if it was going to be part-time. And I did. I started it. And then the studio just started to do really well. And the idea of driving and commuting I did that. I did that for years. I worked in San Francisco, lived in Santa Rosa, and I was in the car probably 5 hours a day. I was traveling all the time. And I loved it, but I got tired of it. So we just started getting more and more people, and I ended up getting the studio, and I just never looked back at the financial. It finally took me years to let my licenses go, because it takes a long time to get all those, registered principal and all those licenses. But I finally let them all go, and best decision I ever made.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, for me personally, I did the same thing.
Oh, did you?
I did, yeah. 15 years ago, I worked for a bank. I worked for a bank in New York, and yeah, it was hard, but I was younger. I didn't have a family, so it was a little easier for me, but probably.
It's scary to give up the benefits and all the security and the retirement. But I was lucky because I worked for Metropolitan, I worked for Prudential. So I do have a pension from each of them already that I'd earned. So thank goodness that gives me a little security now that I'm, almost 65 and looking at retiring sometime.
What have you said to people that are hesitant to make that leap to do a full-time studio? Like, maybe some steps of how they can start working towards that goal.
Well, what I did is I started in a daycare. And I just used this little room in the daycare, and I started with little kids, and then I got some of their parents. And once I got 16 students, then I rented a studio. It was, for me, that was a very safe way to go. And then we just grew from there. So that concept worked well for me. I've also started that now in a town near me, where I'm renting a little town hall for like $400 a month or something. And actually it was 800, and now with COVID, I got her to go down to 400. But eventually we're trying to build that up, and then we're going to rent a studio. And then what I did now is I own my property. So I rented it first, and it's such a perfect location that I bought it as soon as it went for sale. So knock on wood, thank goodness it's almost paid for. A few more years. So that gives you a good retirement, though, for people that are thinking about starting something eventually. If you buy your own building, then you always have that building. But I would tell anybody, for me, this was the best thing that I ever did. It fit my personality. I feel like my degree's in psychology. So I always wanted to help people, teens especially. I've had several teens live with me, and I have this affinity for teens. There's a lot of kids that are in trouble these days because of all the drugs and all the stuff out there. But I feel like we can help people more as their karate instructor than we could as their therapist. Or because a lot of times, I had kids live with me that refuse to see a therapist, but they talk to their karate instructor. So I feel like we can really influence people, and we can help the parents too. At our school right now, my daughter, Rachel Master Luton, is just got through teaching a parenting. We have this free parenting class, and it's through the Hanley group. So she had to be certified to teach it and everything else, but it's a service that we offer for our parents, because we have some parents that come in and the kids are unruly and they just don't know what to do. So I feel like we are really making a difference. So to get back to your question, if you feel that way and you really want to help people, to me, this is one of the best ways you can do it. The thing you have to do, though, is you have to make sure you have goals, and you have your business mind. You talk to Master Godwin, you talk to some of the people that are making it, Master Williamson, and make sure you have a plan so you can financially make it. Because for me to give up, and probably you too, to give up the money we were making to come here for nothing. It took me 5 years to get back to just where I was financially, and we've done really well. So that can be scary, but it can be done. I have seen people, I'm in this group, a mentor group, and I have people in the group, several people doing over $1 million a year in their schools. And we share ideas, but I've seen people that started a school and 3 months later had 100 students, and the school wasn't profitable. So I know it's possible. A lot of it is just educating yourself. So I don't know, me in the beginning, when I first opened up my school, I would go out there and I'd do demos and I'd give out flyers, and I was always out in the public, but I didn't do the right things. I didn't collect the names and the leads. I didn't set appointments. I didn't do the things that I'm doing now that have made everything I go to, I get appointments at. And those appointments, half of those come in and half of them sign up. So it's a matter of learning the business part of it. And I'm glad to help anybody. I know Master Williamson is glad to help anybody. I know Master Godwin is. So there is lots of help available. There's books out. There's all kinds of mentor groups. There's Maya. There's the one I go to, Stephen Oliver's Wealth Mastery. So there's a lot of groups out there. So I would say if someone wants to do this and they're really committed, do it. It's the best thing I ever did, but get help and get advice. Don't try to do it on your own, because just because you're a good martial artist does not mean you're going to be a great business owner.
Right. Absolutely. I think there's lots of good information there. And like you said, ask, because there are so many people. Master Setianto is the new head of the business, and if he can't get it to you, he will point you in the right direction. And you mentioned so many names. I know Master Valentin's another guy who helps people out. But I like your suggestion of starting small, right? Rent out a small space, make a plan. Like you said, 5 years. It took you to get back to where you were before. Make a plan. Like, what's your plan if it's going to take 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, whatever the case may be, so you can be successful down the road. So lots of great information there. So let's talk about your family. They started obviously before you. Who still trains now? Obviously, you talked about your daughter Rachel. Is she a full-time instructor too, or?
Yes,
so,
she's
real quick. let you get started. I'm gonna go run. I have to put on coffee for my wife.
okay.
Waking up from a nap from working overnight. So I'll be right back real quick. Okay.
Okay, sounds
right.
good. I'll talk about that. So that's pretty awesome that he's doing that for his wife. I don't know if you guys know, she's a doctor and she had a big shift last night. So that's pretty cool. So my daughter, Rachel, Master Luton, is still training. My daughter, Michelle, is also still training. Master Luton got her master a couple of years ago now. And my daughter, Michelle, is got the time in now to go to Master's Camp. So I'm hoping she'll be going to Master's Camp next time we have one, whenever that may be. So she's been training. She was my head instructor. She has just recently moved temporarily to Chicago. So I'm telling her to look up Mary and those guys up there, Master Tracy and Master Anoshita and those guys. I don't know if she's going to find the time to do that, but because she's kind of back and forth. So they're training. I've got grandkids that are training now. Awesome. So here's a cute story for you. So my grandkids were in a tournament once, a regional tournament, and they were like, I don't know, 4 and 5. I've got 6 grandkids now. And so, you know how you get up there and you do your spiel, my name is, and I train at, and they said, where do you train? I train with Grandma. What school? I go to Grandma's school. so they train at Grandma's school. And then Rachel's kids, Master Luton's kids, no, my other daughter's kids call me Karate Grandma. They have 2 grandmas. I'm Karate Grandma. So that's how I'm identified, Karate Grandma.
That's amazing.
Funny. It's fun.
And everyone around knows. It's like, oh, Karate Grandma, you better watch out.
Yeah. These kids good. No, but it's fun. It's really fun to be able to have a family business where I can give my families a career, and I can help all my grandkids can take martial arts, and I get to see them a lot. I get to be part of their lives. I get to influence them in a very positive way, you know, knowing that they're getting all these, because we do in our school, probably like most people do, I'm thinking, is we teach life skills, success programming. And I charge quite a bit to do that. But people see the value because they see their kids setting goals. They see their kids learning leadership skills. This month, we're doing anti-bully stuff. So, you know, you get a lot of kids that are bullied, and we do this whole verbal judo program that we take them through. And I know Master Williamson has a good program as well. So there's several programs out there, but for the month of October, we are really, really hitting the anti-bully. And I used to go to all the local schools and do assemblies. No one's letting me in now, but that's a good way to go out and get your message out and help people, and, you know, maybe save someone from getting bullied or from, you know, committing suicide. Bullying is a big problem. So if we can help our kids to be strong, confident, proud, and know what to say, and we role play it all, and my grandkids included, you know, the more we can help people, the better.
To me, it sounds like life goals, like having your family be a part of the studio, and then having that built in, like, oh, my grandkids are coming to class. Like, that's fantastic. I'm so happy for you and all your success. And that's just the icing on the cake. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. You know, my daughter, Rachel, I don't know if you guys know this, but when she graduated college, she graduated with like event management, kind of business stuff. And she was a wedding planner for a while. And she was out and she liked being a wedding planner. It was really fun, but she was working every weekend. And with little kids, it's hard to work every weekend. Sure. And so she decided to come over here, and now this is her career. And she'll eventually take over the studio. I'm sure, because she handles the day-to-day everything right now with it.
That's cool. So you're obviously in Region 21. Talk a little bit about being a part of the region and how it probably wasn't Region 21 at that point when you were, it was different before that, correct?
I think it was Region 6. Was it 6? Because we were with Georgia and Alabama.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I think it was Region 6.
Yeah.
So when I first started, that's who we were with, Region 6. And then we kind of started growing because Florida started getting some schools. And we had some nice, fun times with Region 6 people. And then we split up. Master St. James took over. When I first came here, you had asked me where I trained. I had trained with Master Case, Kevin Case, for a while, short period of time. And then he ended up leaving the association with Master St. James. And then when they left, the only master we had in our region was Master Weichel. And I don't know if you remember him. He's since retired from martial arts. But he helped me a lot with my after school program because he had one. But then it was just a bunch of us, like second and third degrees, kind of running the region, not knowing what we were doing. But it was kind of fun because we learned a lot, and we got to have a lot of probably closer relationships with Grandmaster Shin, because we'd pick him up from the airport and we'd have him to our studio, and we had dinners with him and things. So it was really nice. And then we kind of all grew as a region together. Actually, my region was we have Zoom meetings a lot, and we talk a lot, and we're pretty close. We're like Master Hutchinson said, we're kind of like brothers and sisters, and we really are, because we argue, and then we love one another, and then we argue, and it's because we all are very different and we're very strong-willed. So, but it's a good region. I'm very happy to be here, and we're very supportive of one another.
Yeah, actually, I would, from looking from the outside in, it seems like a family and a very great support group. I've had the opportunity to talk to Master Hutchinson and Master Lampasona in this project that I've been doing, and Master Mabrook and Mrs. Mabrook are very good friends of mine, and they always had great things to say about their opportunities that they got while they lived down in Georgia, and how much fun the events regionally they are.
Yeah, we did have fun. We missed them. I wish they were back here, but it sounds like they're doing great. So that's,
yeah, they're doing well. We missed them too. We want them back soon, probably I think sometime next year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, or later next year, back from Utah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they're amazing. You mentioned Grandmaster Shin, and that profile that I talked about mentioned some great stories. So talk about Grandmaster Shin and the relationship that you had with him, and maybe some stories that everyone would appreciate.
Well, probably the time I got to be the closest to him was through all the Qigong. When he started the Qigong club in the first place, I was one of the original members and went to every one. And I remember the first one he did, it was in Pennsylvania, and he took us to a Korean restaurant. It was just really nice, because that was my first chance really getting to know him and seeing him on a different basis, where it wasn't even, it was like first names and no bowing. It was so different than anything I'd ever done, but it was really nice because you got to see a different side of him, and he was learning as he was going. So that was pretty cool. So we had a lot of nice times at all the Qigong seminars. I remember freezing. I think it was at Hilton Head one time. We were out walking the beach, and it was like below freezing. And, we're walking the beach doing this walking meditation, and everyone's like totally bundled up, especially as Florida people that aren't used to that. But I guess, you sent me that thing, and I started thinking about some times with him. And one that comes to mind, which is kind of funny. So when we were doing the master's, getting ready for the master's presentation when he got promoted, and we were practicing at Master's Clinic many years ago. So Master Tabaka used to run those. And so he had me practice tying on the belt for Grant, because Mrs. Shin was going to tie on his belt. And so I was pretending I was Mrs. Shin. And so I did it. And after I tied on his belt, I looked at it later, and I'm like, tied on his belt wrong. I mean, how do you tie on a belt wrong? I'm Grandmaster. And it was like, but I have always gone behind my students and tied their belts so people could take pictures. And I was so used to doing that that when I tied it on from the front, I don't know, maybe I was nervous. I don't know what it was, but so that's kind of like the funniest thing that I think of when I think about him and times with him and walking and, just some of the jokes. And he was I really miss him. He's just a really, really cool guy. And we're lucky that, well, none of us would be here if it weren't for him. None of us would be here. And he had such good leadership skills and silent, humble, but he got his way. He just kind of, he couldn't get in one door, he'd go in the other door. And that's kind of like us. I've learned a lot from him in that way that, so many times I see people that say, well, I can't get into the public schools, or I can't do that, or I can't do that, or I can't do that. Well, people tell me no all the time. But if you can't go in the front door, you go in the back door. If this one won't let you in, you find someone else that will. So, and I think he was a lot like that. He set a goal and he just kept going forward. He would have setbacks, but he just kept going forward. And I think if we all look at that and still use him as our mentor, it will help us through these times, because these times are tough. But you know what? Are we learning stuff? Absolutely. Are we going to come out stronger because of it in the end? I think so. I mean, for us alone, I'm getting much better with technology. I know how to do Zoom now, even though I was doing Zoom before these, but now, we're on Zoom with everything. And now we're going to offer that to our students forever. So when my students go up north and they spend the summer with their dad, they can still train because they can get on Zoom. So I think we're learning a lot through this process. We're learning that you also need to stay really in close contact with your students, because they're so easy. It's so easy to lose them that you just have to really give the extra value and the extra attention. They have to know that we care.
That's great. And I loved what you said about Grandmaster Shin. And you look at most of the new kids coming in now were born after he was gone. And I like that there's so many in our higher leadership that share his goals and his vision to keep the association going for many years. And I try to share stories about him all the time as much as I can, because, like I said, he died in 2012, and, Tigers and Dragons were not even born at that point. So it's crazy to think of that. There's a whole generation of people that are even black belts now, and even coming to Master's Clinic that never got any time with Grandmaster Shin, whether it was just taking class. So it's nice to share these memories and keep his memory and vision alive.
Yeah, we were very fortunate.
So before they switched worlds over to going to North Carolina, I know that Florida got to host quite a few. Did you have any? Were you part of helping for any of those worlds?
Some. I think maybe the year that I ran the Tigers and Dragons, it may have been, I don't even remember where it was, but that may have been Florida. I'm not sure. I actually don't remember where it was. So yeah, it was certainly convenient. Most of the time it was in Florida. I was not I don't know if I was even a master when the tournaments were in Florida. So
the last one was 2008 was the last.
2008. So yeah, then I was. So, we did, it was obviously a lot of work, but I think it is so well organized that everyone kind of did their own thing, and it's not too much for anybody. But it was pretty cool. It'd be nice to have it back here again.
Yeah, or at least the national championship.
Yeah, and I think that has a good chance of happening. I know Master Hutchinson was really pushing for that. So.
Yeah, I know he talked about trying to get worlds a couple of years ago. Not that North Carolina's terrible, but it was nice to be able to go to different places back in the day.
But I understand it was a profitability issue.
Sure. Yeah, I totally get it.
Yeah, you have to. It's got to be profitable. You can't lose money on it. So I get that too.
So you were trying to figure out if you were a master at Worlds there. Can you talk about a little bit about, was that ever something in your mind, starting and then getting first, second, third degree? When did it you start to realize that, I could actually go to master's clinic one day.
I'm not sure when. I'm not sure when. It had been a goal for a very long time, probably around my second, when I got my second. It took me a long time to get my second, though. That was a challenge. But I think after I got my second, then I started thinking about it. And when I started my own school, then I realized I really had the time to devote to it, because that's my whole life is martial arts. I horseback ride and I do other things, but it's a huge, huge part of my life. And I think when that started happening and I had my own school is when I really said, this is the goal. Masters is the goal. So, but it took me a long time to get my second, because I was supposed to get my second, after 2 years. And we had moved from Arizona. I got my black belt in Arizona in 95.
Okay.
And we had with, I was with Master Inoshita. He was a third degree then, but he was helping to run the school, and Tim Taylor was the main guy. And so that's where I got my daughter and I got our Shodan in 95 there. And then we moved back to California, and we were training for our second degree. And we were like, it was like 3 weeks out. And Master Tabaka said, your cards aren't current. I'm like, what do you mean my card isn't current? I paid 2 years. Well, I didn't realize it's calendar year. So anyways, my dues were not paid, because I moved from Arizona to California. I never got a bill. I never knew. I just thought I was paid up, never thought of it. So we couldn't test, couldn't get an exception, could not test, even though were totally ready. So then that was fine. So we trained again. And then I think the next 6 months, when we were paid up and everything was good, I broke my heel. And then like 6 months later, so here's Michelle and I trying to get to test for a second. And then I think 6 months later, I got pregnant. So it was like one thing after the other. So that's why I'm a master. And my oldest daughter, who is 40, don't tell anyone I told you that, but she's still a third degree. And I've been a master all these years. So it's because she lost all that time. And then she moved to LA and didn't train for a while. So it took us, so then Fitness Fanatics gave me this little award for showing the most perseverance in getting your EDON. It was kind of cute, because it was a lot. Some people, I see students and they don't get to test and they want to quit. It's like, it's not about the rank. It's not about the rank.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's tough. And it's just like, there'll be another cycle. Just keep training, just keep, because you get the black belt, and then what do? You keep training.
Yeah. And, masters is a good goal. I mean, I encourage anyone to have the goal for masters, because I think part of it, you just have to have goals. You have to have that carrot out there and what you're looking for. And I think a biggest part of master was the mystery of it, and the looking at the people that were there and the awe of it. And it's, to me, that it was so cool. And it's still cool. It's still cool. Like I think of Master Wick, and I think of all I learned from him, and just how exciting he was. And there's just so many different masters that are so cool that we get to meet and get to hang out with. And we're just really fortunate. So I encourage everybody to set that as a goal, because that's a great goal. And it was, once I set that as a goal, that was it.
Absolutely. When I tested for my red stripe for fourth dan, it was the year that you and Master Wolverton tested for your 5th degree. And there was so many. Master Robinson was testing for his 7th dan. Master Lorenzo was out there. Master Oaks, Master Black, and Master I think Adam White from Region 8. Then I was in the back, just starstruck, looking at all these people. And it's just, it doesn't matter how long you've been in. It's just like, wow, look at all these guys. These guys, I know that guy. I saw him at Worlds. Like, it's just amazing to see. And then you watch their training. It's like, wow, you got there, and then you're like, I still have so much to learn and so much to aspire to.
Yeah, I agree. And every one of them has so many wonderful things to offer. Every one of them has success in some area of their life. And if you just spend the time and talk to them, you learn so much from them, and it's amazing. They're all so different, and the hobbies they have and things. So I was Lynn Montgomery is writing a book as part of her thesis, and she was interviewing me and came down and visited me, and I didn't really know her before then. And I found out she's a master diver. I mean, it's so cool that what some of the successes that some of these people have is just amazing, and the skills they have.
So you mentioned horses. So I'm assuming that's a long time hobby. of
Yeah,
yours?
I'll show you. Can you see my walls?
Oh yeah.
All my horses everywhere. Those are my two horses over there. I don't know if you can see them, but anyways, I'm a horsey junkie. So I have two horses. And actually I board them right down the road, but we put an offer on some property yesterday, which is right in my neighborhood, that the lady accepted. We'll see if it appraises. So I'm really excited. It's 4.5 acres. So I will finally get to live with, and I have before, but not in many years, live on a place that my horses are right with me. So yeah, I ride almost every day.
What sparked you? Did you just have riding lessons as a kid, or did you have horses as a kid, or?
I loved horses as a kid, always wanted one. Finally, when I was 15, I saved up my money and I got a horse. And then I've pretty much had horses most of my life from then, and most people lose their interest once they grow up. When I had kids, I didn't have horses for a while when I had babies and I was working, but then I got them again as my kids got older. And it's a passion. I love it. I go out in the woods, and where we live, there's like hundreds and hundreds of acres, a big forest. And so I just go out in the woods. Sometimes I go with myself, sometimes I'm by myself, sometimes I go with other people. And it's just so it's like meditation. You go out in the woods and you hear nature, and I saw a baby fawn one time that had just been born. You see turtles, you see turkeys, I saw a coyote one time. It's just really cool to be out in the woods with nature. And I love it. I just love it. And it's a challenge. Riding horses can be a challenge. I've fallen off, got bucked off many times.
It's funny. Most kids save to buy a car. You saved up to buy a horse. That's amazing.
Yeah. I got the horse first, car second.
Yoshioda asked about has owning horses provided any insight into Tang Soo Do, maybe improved horse stance?
It's a good point. I think you have a better understanding of horse stance if you ride a horse. So it's not that real low stance that everyone does. It's a rounded approach. And one thing, the way it ties together, I think the best is what I just said about, I have one horse that bucks. And so rolling and falling has probably saved my life many times. I've gotten, the first year that I got Electra, one of my horses, I fell off 7 times. And I hadn't fallen off a horse in like 40 years. So it was scary at my age, because I'm 63. So it was a little scary falling off horses. I don't want to fall anymore. And, but I rolled, and every time I'm like, I'm okay. I'm like, there's all the parts here. So that helped me. I think that's probably the biggest thing that I would say is and the breathing sometimes, and the horses can sense fear or whatever. So even when you're sitting in the saddle, if you're calm, even if something's scary, you see a snake or whatever, or they're scared, if you stay calm, they can sense it. They can, like all your muscles, they can tell if they tense up or not, if you're tightening the reins. So the martial arts kind of ties in with all that, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. A couple of people saying hi. Master Valentin's been watching. Master Amarin is watching. Master Hutchinson checked in and said hello. Brian Orbison asked, do you keep a track of how many black belts you've actually promoted throughout the years?
I don't specifically keep track, but I have pictures of most of them.
Right.
So I don't have pictures of all of them because some kind of escape without me ever thinking about it. But I have pictures of most of them. And Brian's probably seen them. He's been to my studio. So I've got a whole bunch on the wall. We ran out of room at one time, and I took a whole bunch down. And then, so now I have still some that are in files. So I pretty much have pictures of most of them, but I usually stay in touch with them. So not usually, some of them, sometimes I stay in touch with. So we just did this thing this summer. We did this, we called a mat chat, and we did it virtually. So it was 11:30 every day. My daughter or I, or one of my black belts, got on the computer with our people, and we studied like books. What to say when you talk to yourself, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Psychology of Winning. Those are required for my black belts, by the way. My black belts, before they can get a black belt, have to read certain self-help books. So when we did that, and we were done with the books and we had a little lull, we thought, why not? We were talking about leadership. Why not bring in some of our old black belts, put them on Zoom, and have them talk about leadership? So we did. We brought several of them in, and it like so successful. Some of them, one of them, Gwen, I think it was Gwen, some of the things some of these guys said put tears in my eyes, because they said how martial arts has changed their life. how it has affected them, how it has made them successful, helped them to get like the full ride to college, or help them to get their PhD, or, you know, whatever. And they were all like really supportive and really positive. And some of these kids I haven't seen, you know, in 10 years or whatever. So it was really cool. It really warmed your heart to make you feel like, wow, we're making a difference, and we have made a difference. But it also, I think, for all our new students watching this, and sometimes we had 60, 70 students on watching this, they saw role models and people that had said, yes, it's tough. Yes, it's hard, but I got through it. You know, yes, it's expensive. Yes, there's times I felt like quitting, but look where I am now. Look what it's done for me. It's taught me perseverance. It's taught me this. And so for me, that's I think, looking at the difference we make in people's lives is what really makes it worthwhile. I was looking at I got a letter the other day, and I get these letters, you know, these little thank you notes from people, and I save them because sometimes, especially when you're feeling down and you lose a family or someone quits, it always hurts my heart. I always take it personal, like, wow, what could we have done different? What did we do wrong? How could we have helped them? But then sometimes I go and I read these letters, and I had a girl the other day that just graduated high school, and she says, I probably wouldn't have even graduated high school if it weren't for you. And things like that, just, you know, that's why I think we're here. I had another student the other day ask me, I was shocked, asked me to officiate. So the kid goes to my school, and he has a big sister that I've met once or twice. They asked me to officiate her wedding. Now, it had already officially been done because of COVID. They couldn't do the wedding. So they asked me to officiate. I'm like, me? I don't, you know, me. So the groom comes up here, and I'm like, are you Tim? I thought the guy was standing. I didn't know his name was Tim also. So I got to officiate this wedding last weekend, and it really made me feel good because the students, that's the influence we're having on their life, you know?
All of you, all the things you just said just now are awesome. I did see the pictures of that wedding, and that's so cool. Have you ever done that before?
No. And I'm not like, I had someone come over to me after the wedding. We were sitting down and we were eating, and he comes over and he sat next to me, and I didn't know the guy. And he said, so what denomination are you? That's the first thing he said to me, not what's your name? How are you? You know? And I looked at him, and, you know, I told him, I said, Methodist. And then later after he left, I said to the people sitting next to me, I said, why did he ask me that? What a weird thing. Like, what is, you know, what a weird first remark. And then I realized it's because I was officiating the wedding. He thought like I was an ordained minister or something, which I am not at all. It was funny, actually, when I got up there and they were all, you know, I had to tell them when to stand and when to sit. I didn't know that. I didn't know I was supposed to tell them that. And then I'm like, oh, I guess they better sit down. Time to sit. Everyone, please have a seat. But it was cool. It was just really different. And it was an honor to be asked to do that. It was really an honor.
That's really cool. And you had to tell them to sit and stand in English, not Korean.
Yes.
It's really cool that where did you get the idea of having some of your older students come in and share on Zoom? Was it just something that kind of popped up, or?
I don't know where it came from. It might have been my daughter, Master Luton. She probably came up with the idea, because usually the good ideas in our studio she comes up with. But I think it was a takeoff from, we always look at the pictures of all the black belts and we brag on each one of them. Because like I've got a couple right now that are going to college on full rides. I brag on them. And when they come home at Christmas, I say, everybody, this is Cody. He's on a full ride to here. This is AJ. He's on a full. So I think it was like taking that a step further and letting them really see what the results could be. You know, because we get a lot of people just like you. I mean, probably 30% of our kids are ADD, ADHD. We get a lot of special needs kids. And I love them because we can really help make a difference. They disturb class sometimes, and they're difficult to keep straight, but eventually we help all of them. And so I think the more we can show that to our parents and our kids, the more they stick with it when their child says, I don't want to come to karate anymore. I'm bored. And we're doing the same thing over and over. Or money gets tight and the parents say, I don't really have the money now. And I think if they see the value of what we give, then they're more likely to stay. So we kind of do it for those reasons too, for marketing purposes. This is my dog here, my big puppy.
Going to say hi.
Yeah. He's really big. Okay, get down. He's a really big boy.
That's one of the things, Facebook it has good and bad things, but one of the great things about Facebook is being able to connect, like still see and be friends with parents of kids and just see them growing up now and still have that connection, and see them being successful and things like that. So that I really like that idea, and I'm going to take that, whether it was yours or Master Rachel's. I'm going to use that one because like you said, you can stand in front of a class, every class, and tell people, but to hear it from the actual person is a whole different story. So,
and especially when they go way above and beyond. I mean, the stuff they said, it's try it. You'll be amazed at what, I mean, and really, I got tears in my eyes. I'm like, oh my, I didn't know they felt that way. I really didn't. Because, you don't see them for a while. They don't come visit. You think that they just don't care anymore. And it was like, wow, they get it.
Well, believe it or not, we're coming up on the hour mark. So I just wanted to give you an opportunity. Is there anything else that you thought of when getting ready for this that you want to share to anyone watching?
Nothing particular, except for I would just like to encourage, like all the instructors out there, to try to, as much as possible, teach the life skills and the success skills and the other things with Tang Soo Do, which, the whole person concept is what we're all about. And I really, I teach it and I market it because, if students learn how to set goals and how to be leaders, and they learn how to teach others and those kinds of things, it's going to make them more successful. So because I didn't think about that at the beginning when I first started my studio, and I've kind of, morphed into doing more of we're like a leadership. I akin our school to a private school. Mm-hmm. And I charge, amounts really like not as much as private schools, and I'm not embarrassed for that because I think we give way more than we take. I believe that with all my heart. So, and I think that's the key. As long as you're giving and you're providing good service and you're helping your students, charge what you're worth, because we are worth a lot of money. We've put a lot of energy and a lot of thought and our heart into what we do, into helping people. And people value that.
Absolutely. And you have your leadership skills and classes. I mean, you have 2 daughters that they're walking testimonials, like that's amazing.
Yeah.
So, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. I had a great time, learning about you and sharing, and, hopefully soon, maybe March Masters Clinic. We'll keep our fingers crossed that we'll get the chance to talk in person again. So
let's hope. And thank you very much for inviting me. It was really an honor. I felt very special to be asked. So thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for joining me. It's like as I was telling you before, it's just as much of an honor. I ask people, and it's like I don't assume that people know who I am.
I knew who you were. I knew who you were.
I know. Yeah. But yeah, thanks again, and have a great rest of your day. Tang Soo.
Bye, everybody.